Alright, so welcome back everybody. So for this video, I'm going to be reviewing and talking about the new cards that they added to the Guilds and Cornucopia expansion for the second edition. I'm going to talk about the cards that were replaced and the cards that replaced the cards that are no longer in the set. So let's get started. I've already got them all ready to go. So let's start with these two first. And you'll notice one is not, you're probably not necessarily familiar with, for those of you who have played Dominion a lot. I never liked the theme of Fortune Teller, so this desert card here replaced Fortune Teller, but this is exactly what Fortune Teller did, except the theme is different. So this is an attack card, okay? And the card they replaced it with is not an attack card. And while I'd like to see, I don't like that when they replace cards that they don't replace it with another attack card. But this attack card here is not necessarily my favorite card in the game, and it really slows the game down. However, the card that replaced Desert, Shop here, not only does it give you a card and a treasure, but then you can play an action card you don't have a copy of in play. And so potentially you can chain a lot of cards, even though the shop doesn't give you a plus action. If you play an action card that you don't have a copy of in play and it has a plus action, you can continuously chain cards. And if it's a village variant, even better, right? Even more chaining. And so the shop is a really, really good card. There's not very many cards that let you play an action card from your hand that you don't have a copy of in play. There's not very many out there. There's a few for sure, but there's not a lot. So it's a nice little addition to the expansion for sure. Now, I absolutely love this card way more than Desert, but since I don't absolutely hate Desert, Desert will be sticking in my expansion box here. So we're not getting rid of this card, even though it's not the best attack card in the world. If they had replaced it with an attack card, then yeah, I would remove it. But since they didn't, we'll hold on to both cards. Obviously, we'll hold on to everything that's new, because I like all of the new cards for sure. But we're definitely holding on to the old card Desert for my box. But that's the difference. This attack card here, in case you don't know, it really slows the game down because you can continuously reveal cards until you reveal a victory card or a wasteland. Sometimes you don't have very many of those cards to begin with, victory and wastelands, because you trashed them all. And so this desert could literally discard your entire deck potentially. And so it's super annoying, but like it really just slows the game down, especially towards the end of the game when your deck is full of cards and you still don't have that many victory cards, in comparison to all the other cards you have, treasure and actions and stuff. So it's a really slow card, really slow attack card. So I, for one, even though I'm sad to see Desert go from their second edition, I am happy to see Shop in its place. Very happy. So that's those two cards. Okay, next we have Fairman and Horse Trader. So let's put the cards that are new here and the cards that have been replaced on this side, okay, from now on. So Ferryman is an awesome card. Now, Horse Traders is a reaction, and now there's no reactions in the set. So I have mixed feelings about that. Sure, the card itself isn't like super awesome. I can see why they replaced this card. Just like with Fortune Teller, I can see why that this card was replaced. It's just not as good as some of the other cards out there. But it's a reaction, and there's not that many reactions, especially in this expansion, Guilds and Cornucopia. This would have been the only one, and they removed it, so now there's none. So that's kind of lame. But, so we'll be holding on to this card regardless, because I still think it's a nice card, even though it's not the best card out there. So what does it do? Well, you get a buy, you get free money, and then you discard 2 cards. So maybe there are a couple of estates in the beginning of the game. Most likely you're discarding 2 estates when you do this. So hey, getting 3 money for doing that, it's not a bad deal. But it's not like the best card in the world either. But the reaction part is kind of interesting because When a player plays an attack card, you can set this aside from your hand, and then if you do that, at the start of your next turn, you get an additional card, plus you get to return this to your hand. So if it's a militia variant, it could cause you to go down to 3 cards in hand, right? But then at the start of your next turn, you get this card back. So now you got 4 cards. And then you get to draw a card to boot. So, you know, there you go. Now you're back to 5 cards again, and militia, like, almost didn't touch you or didn't mess with you as much as it could have if you didn't have this. But, you know, versus other attacks, it could potentially give you a hand of 6 cards. So if it's not a militia variant, that makes you discard cards, but it's an attack card that causes you to get minus point cards, for instance. Well, you still have 5 cards, then you go down to 4, you get your minus point card because this doesn't block it, right? And at the start of your next turn, your Horse Traders comes back, and you get to draw cards. So now you got 6 cards. So Horse Traders is actually, the reaction part is awesome. I love the reaction part of it. The action is just so-so, but the reaction is awesome. So I love this card for the reaction. So it's going to stay around. It's going to be staying in my box. Okay? So Ferryman, the new card. What did they replace it with, though? The Ferryman. Well, you get 2 cards, you get an action, and you discard a card. That's good. That's a good action, you know. But the setup is really fascinating. You choose an unused kingdom card pile costing 3 or 4, and then whenever you gain a Ferryman, whenever you buy a Ferryman or you gain a Ferryman, you're going to gain the card that has been the unused kingdom card pile that costs 3 to 4. You're going to gain that card. Now, that 3 to 4 costing card is not part of the supply. So you can't purchase this extra kingdom card pile that you're adding to the game. You can't purchase it. The only way to gain it is by gaining this Ferryman. So that's really interesting that they did that. This isn't the only unique setup in this expansion that has something similar to this that they decided to keep in the expansion, which I'm happy to see. So now there's 2 special cards in this expansion that have this unique setup, and they're both different. This one is different from the other. Which one do I like more? I couldn't tell you for sure, but I think the action for this is better than the other one, for sure. So I am happy to see Ferryman in this expansion, very happy, and I'm going to be holding on to Horse Traders as well. So let's move on. Okay, so the next one is Farrier, and the card that got replaced, Masterpiece. Okay, well, Masterpiece, it's only going to give you a treasure, and it's worth the same cost as a silver. But if you pay more money for the Masterpiece, let's say you have 5 money, and you want to spend your 5 money to buy the Masterpiece, well, then that's actually overpaying for it. And so it says here that when you buy this, you may overpay for it. If you do, you get 1 silver per treasure you overpaid. So in this case, if I spent 5 money on this card here, I get the Masterpiece and 2 silvers. That's pretty sweet. It's not the best card in the world for sure. It's kind of almost boring, if you will. At some point, the Masterpiece becomes pointless. In the beginning of the game, you might want to do this to get a few extra silvers to start with, right? But you're only going to use this maybe a couple of times in the game, and then at some point you're just going to be like, I don't know if I want to spend, I don't know if I want too many silvers in my deck. Unless there's a victory card that gives you victory points for silvers, which Dark Ages does have one. But for the most part, in a normal game, you most likely do not want to hold on to your Masterpiece, and you do not want to hold on to, and you do not want to play it too often to just fill up your deck with silvers, because at that point you want to be getting golds. That's the point. And so Masterpiece, while it's a nice card for the beginning of the game, it becomes completely pointless very fast. So I don't mind seeing this one getting replaced for sure. So what replaced it? Well, we have Farrier, okay? Well, the action is basic, right? Pretty basic, 1 card, 1 action, 1 buy. But it's got the overpay thing. Just like this one has the overpay, this one also has it too. So, this one gives you 1 card at the end of this turn per treasure you overpaid. And its only costs is 2. So if you spend 5 money on this card, okay, if you spend 5 money, you're going to overpay for this card, and you're going to overpay for it by 3 money, as in you're spending 5 money. then you're going to get to draw 3 cards at the end of this turn. Which means you're going to have more cards in your hand, more than 5. But remember that if there's a militia variant in the mix, it's going to make you discard down to 3 cards in hand again, and you might not want, you might not want to do that. So, while overpay normally is awesome, if there's a militia variant, ouch, it's going to sting if that's the case. But otherwise, it's a really good card for a 2-costing card. It's a really good card. Probably one of the best overpays I've seen. There's a lot of different overpays, but this one is definitely a card that I am happy to see in this expansion that's new, and it replaced a card that was just mediocre at best. Now, I am going to hold on to my Masterpiece anyways, because like I said, I still think it has some, it still has some place in my game somewhere, at least in the beginning, I think. So I'll hold on to Masterpiece because, it's a masterpiece. And, of course, Farrier is an awesome card too, which I love as well, seeing this in the expansion. Awesome. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so then the next card is Infirmary and Doctor. Okay, well, Doctor, well, look at that. Look at all that text on the card, Doctor. Oh, so you name a card. Okay, let's name Copper. Then you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Then you trash the matches. Ooh, I got 2 coppers and a silver. Okay, so I trashed the 2 coppers because that was the card I named. Okay, fine. Then you put the rest back on top in any order. So the silver goes back to the top of my deck. Okay, cool. Well, whatever. And then when you buy this, you may overpay for it. And then for each money you overpaid, look at the top card of your deck, trash it, discard it, or put it back. That's a lot going on with that card. The card Doctor was okay when it first came out. I mean, the card let you trash cards when you purchased it if you were willing to overpay for it. Once again, this is another card that had the overpay variant with the little plus parentheses, just like with the other cards, like Farrier and Masterpiece had, for instance, And while it's an okay card, the card that they replaced it with is just so much cleaner. It's just so much simpler. Infirmary here. Well, first of all, you get a card. This one didn't give you a card, right? So that's better than that already. You may trash a card from your hand. It says you may trash a card. It says you don't have to trash a card. You may, which is nice. Now, with this one, you potentially get to trash more cards when you play it. This one, you only trash 1 at most per card you play, right? But what's really cool is when you overpay for this card, play this once, you get, and then per 1 treasure you overpaid, you get to play this once. So, let's say I have 5 money again. I have 5 money, and I'm going to overpay for it by 2 money because I'm spending 5 money on it, but I'm overpaying for it by 2. That means why I buy it, I then play it. Okay, then I play the action 2 times. That means I'm going to draw a card, and then it says you may trash a card. Now, when you do this, you might be thinking, I really need an Infirmary because I need a way to trash cards. But at this point in the game, maybe that card you want to trash isn't in your hand. Maybe that minus point card isn't in your hand, or maybe there's no estate in your hand or no copper in your hand. But the cool thing is, it lets you draw a card before you get the option to trash. So if you overpay for this card by even just 1 money, you're going to get to draw a card, and maybe it'll be a card you want to trash that you're drawing. So it gives you that additional potential option. But of course, you're only going to get to trash 1 card per money you overpay for it. So hey, you might have had a minus point card in your hand, and this card lets you draw a card, and you only overpaid, let's say you have 4 money, and you overpay for the Infirmary by 1 money. What happens? Well, you play the card. You get, let's say you have already a minus point card in your hand. Then you get the card. The card you drew was a minus point card. But hey, you can only trash 1 of them because you only overpaid for it by 1. So there is that. But still, it increases your chances of trashing cards, and it's just so much cleaner and simpler to understand over this one, which just has a lot of text on it. Maybe a little bit too much. So because they're basically the same card, with this one being way better than this one here, this one is not going in the box. This one is gone. We're not keeping Doctor, and Infirmary is here to stay. Okay, and I didn't really like Doctor that much anyway, so I am not sad to see it go. Okay, next we have Carnival and Harvest. Okay, I hate Harvest. It's a horrible card. Okay, reveal. I am happy that they replaced this card. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, then discard them. You get +1 money per differently named card revealed. Well, that's stupid. At most you can get is 4 money with this card. But playing a gold is way better than playing this card, even if it only gives you 3. And that potential possibility of getting 4 money is very slim to none. That is horrible. Harvest is just the worst card in the cornucopia expansion, or cornucopia guilds for that matter. So I am happy to see this one go, so it can just go. Gone for good. I'm not holding on to that card anymore. Now, Carnival, however, the card that replaced the Harvest, well, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Then you get to put 1 of each differently named card into your hand, and you discard the rest. That is so much better. That is so way better. Yes, it's still luck-based. It's still, based on if you built your deck, so that way you have a lot of differently named cards in your deck. This will be powerful. And you know what? It fits the theme, too. While Harvest was still differently named cards, getting treasure for the differently named cards, this one is still differently named, and I like the differently named cards that this expansion specializes in. That this makes this expansion unique, is differently named cards and rewarding you for differently named cards. I love that. I love that type of mechanism. So Carnival is an awesome card. Of course, you might want to try to play a village variant, so that way the cards you're drawing are going to, potentially be action cards, right? And you might want to play them. So hopefully there's a village variant, so that way you can, take advantage of the Carnival. But still, that is amazing. Probably one of my most favorite cards that they replaced. Carnival. Awesome card. Happy to see it in the expansion. Okay. Next we have Farmhands and Farming Village. Okay. Well, Farming Village gives you 2 actions. Farmhands gives you a card and 2 actions. But the reason why it doesn't give you +1 card for the Farming Village is because you reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal an action or a treasure, putting that card into your hand, discarding the others. So this card ensured you would get to draw either a treasure card or an action card. Everything else would get discarded. This one doesn't do that. It just gives you a card. But the additional benefit it gives you is still way better than this. So, and what is that? Is with the Farmhands, when you gain this, you may set aside an action or a treasure from your hand, and then you get to play it at the start of your next turn. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is really cool. When you gain this, you may set aside an action or a treasure from your hand. That's amazing. And then you get to play it at the start of your next turn. Who knows the possibilities that you could potentially play at the start of your next turn. I love that. And it could be a treasure too, so that works too, right? Treasure or action. Farmhands is just a really good card. It is way, way better than the original Farming Village here. Now, while I didn't have any issues with the Farming Village, and I know that this one is still way better than this, so I can understand them wanting to replace this card with this one for sure, I'm still going to hold on to my Farming Village because I still think it has a place in my box. We'll hold on to it for the meantime. Maybe someday, I will want to replace this, or get rid of it, I mean. But for now, we'll hold on to the Farming Village, and obviously I like Farmhands way better. Awesome, awesome action. I am happy to see this in the expansion. Okay, all right. Next we have Footpad and the Taxman. Now, this is probably one of my most hated attack cards ever created, okay? It's similar to Mine, which is a card from the base game of Dominion. One of the very first cards ever created, Mine. Mine is way better than this card, okay? This card can ruin strategies. It can ruin your deck. It can ruin your hand. It can ruin your turn. It's just awful. I am glad they replaced this card because I absolutely hate Taxman. What does Taxman do? Okay, well, you may trash a treasure from your hand. Okay, so let's say we trash a copper from our hand. Each other player with 5 or more cards in hand discards a copy of it. Okay, they discard a copper. Whoop-de-doo. Seriously, that's not great. Or reveals a hand without copper. Well, you know, not likely in the beginning of the game. Gain a treasure card costing up to 3 more than the trash card, putting it on top of your deck. So, the card you're gaining, so you trash the copper, you gain a silver in its place. Well, that silver's going to the top of your deck. It's not going back in your hand. So now you're down to 3 cards in hand, and if you played this first and didn't have any village variants, which is possible, right? Well, then you have 3 cards in hand, and you can't play any more actions, and maybe you did have another action. Is it worth playing over this? Absolutely not. The other action is definitely going to be better. Pretty much. I mean, seriously, that's just awful. Sure, the silver is going to the top of your deck, but you need it now. I think you need it now, and that's why I hate that card, because it should come to your hand now, because mine, the treasure card, came to your hand. This one, it does not. And the attack is awful. So what? What do you do if they have to discard a copper? So what? Okay, so you trash a silver to gain a gold to the top of your deck. It's not going to affect them that much to discard a silver. Okay, sure, you could trash a gold to get a gold and make them discard a gold at the end of the game. But really, who's going to do that? Seriously. I think I did it once, and I just completely felt bad for doing it. It was completely awful, completely messed up. So no, Taxman, you are trash to me. Okay, that's another card I am happy to see go. Okay, so Footpad is the card that replaced it, and it's an attack card, so hey, that's even better. I'm glad they replaced something with an attack card that was an attack card. Okay, so with Footpad, in case you guys can't see the picture as well, you get 2+ coffers. You get +2 coffers. Well, Taxman didn't give you any coffers, so it's a new card that gives you more of these coins, these coffer coins, okay? That's amazing. I like that. Another card that gives you coffers. Happy to see that. Okay, and then each other player discards down to 3 cards in hand. That is way better than what Taxman did. At most, you could discard 1 card with the Taxman. This one, they're going to discard down to 3 cards in hand. So it's a militia variant, and yes, I like that a lot. And it's not the only one that is a militia variant that gives you coffers either. But it also has something else here. It says in games using this, when you gain a card in an action phase, you get +1 card. So if you're playing with some cards that let you gain cards while you're still in your action phase, you get to draw a card. That's cool. I like that. That is really cool. So, you know, Footpad is just kind of interesting and unique, and it's fun. And it's way better than Taxman, for sure. So yeah, I am happy to see Footpad in this expansion. Awesome card. Okay, so now we still have some cards. Okay, we're not done yet. Okay, so we have Joust and Tournament. Okay, well, I love Tournament. Okay, well, I don't love Tournament. I love what Tournament gives you. Okay, so Joust and Tournament are basically the same thing. Okay, this one is going to reward you. Joust is going to reward you with rewards. Tournament is going to reward you with prizes. Okay, so what this does is with Tournament is you get an action with it. Each player may reveal a province from his hand. If you do, discard it and gain a prize from the prize pile or a duchy, putting it on top of your deck. And then if nobody else does, you get a card and treasure. So in the beginning of the game, most likely no one has province. So what it's going to do is it's going to give you an action, it's going to give you a card, and it's going to give you a treasure. And that's it. So it's an okay action because you're getting a card, action, and treasure. Potentially in the beginning of the game when nobody has a province. But you want provinces because that's the only way you're going to get, well, prizes. That's the only way you're going to get these is if you have a province, okay? So you're going to want to get a province sooner rather than later, for sure. But if an opponent has a province in their hand, and you play this, then you don't get the card, and you don't get the treasure. You just get the action. So yeah, that's awful. It becomes, oh man, why did I play the card? I just wasted an action. Well, you didn't waste an action at least. But still, ouch. You don't get to do anything. But if you have a province in your hand, and they have a province in their hand, and they reveal it, they're just blocking you from the card and the treasure. That means if you still have a province, you're still going to get one of these prizes. And we'll go over these prizes when we go over the rewards as well. Okay? But yes, that's what you're going to get, basically. So, while Tournament is not that great of a card, the prizes, one of the prizes in particular, I absolutely love. And so I'm going to be holding on to my Tournament. It's staying in my box, along with the prizes, which we'll see in a moment. But yes, I am sad to see this one go. And, well, I probably wouldn't have been sad if they hadn't replaced one of the prizes with something different in Joust, with the rewards in Joust. So let's talk about Joust next. Okay, let's just keep that up there for now. Okay, so with Joust, you get the card, you get the action, you get the treasure. That's better. This way you always get it, which is great. It only costs one more than the other card, but you're getting it every time. You don't have to worry about someone blocking you from getting it. That was at least interactive. This whole thing here at least added some interaction that wasn't attacking, right? But then with this, you may set aside a province from your hand to gain any reward to your hand, and you discard the province and clean up. Okay, so if you have a province in hand, you get yourself a reward by basically, setting it aside, and then it gets discarded during cleanup. That's kind of nice. Okay, and the action is better. It's safer than Tournament. So I really like Joust. Of course, I really like Joust. Don't get me wrong. I love Joust as an action, but I also love the rewards it brings. But there's a prize in here that I am sad to see go. Okay, so let's leave these up here and talk about the rewards and prizes that they offered. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the one. Let's talk about the one card I'm sad to see go. Followers, and the card that they replaced it with, which is Housecarl. Okay, and there's two of these. And the reason why there's two of these is if you're playing a 3-player game or more, then you're going to play with both cards. But if you're only playing a 2-player game, you're only going to play with one. So that's how that's going to work. Okay, so let's talk about Followers. You get to draw 2 cards with it. Okay, cool. You gain an estate. Okay, cool. Each other player gains a -point card, and they also discard down to 3 cards in hand. So, ouch! Your opponents hate that card. Most likely, if you get the Followers, everyone's going to hate you because they're going to get a -point card, and they're going to have to discard down to 3 cards in hand. It's a powerful attack, but when you think about it, there's only one of these cards, and if your deck is full of cards, you might get to play this 2 or 3 times during the course of the game, maybe more if you're chanting a lot. But generally, you're not going to play it that much. So it's not as bad as it could be if there were 10 of these in the deck, right? Or 10 of these in your deck. Or 5 of these in your deck, for that matter, right? Not as bad. But it's still powerful, and I love this card. This is probably one of my most favorite attacks in existence. And this is the whole reason why I'm holding on to my Tournament, is just because of this card here. Followers. Okay? So that's how that's going to work. Okay, let's talk about the card they replaced it with. Housecarl here. With this one, you get +1 card per differently named action card you have in play. Okay, well, I love that. Okay? I hate that they replaced this with this. But I love this card because it goes with the theme of the expansion. Differently named action card. For every differently named action card you have in play, you get to draw a card. I like that. That's cool. You could potentially draw a lot of cards. You could potentially draw a lot of cards, for sure, with this card. I love that card. Housecarl is awesome. I'm just very sad that they replaced Followers with this. That's all. So that's why this one is staying in my expansion. But still, I'm going to be holding on to these, of course, as well. All right. So let's see here. What do we got? Okay, so then we have 2 cards that that weren't really officially replaced. Where's my... Oh, here they are. So there's two cards that they didn't officially replace. They're basically the same thing. So here we have the original Princess, which is a prize, and the new Renown, which is a reward. Look at the card. Notice anything different besides picture and name? This turn, cards cost 2 less. While this is in play, cards cost 2 less, but not less than 0. So basically the same card. Yeah, they changed the wording a bit to make it a little bit more, I guess, simpler. But they're basically the same exact card. The line in the middle is obviously not there anymore like it is on this one. It's not there anymore. But that really doesn't change anything either. So, once again, actually, this is still probably a little bit better than the original Princess. It's probably still possibly a little bit better because of the line not being on this card. But still, it's basically the same card. Princess or Renown, it doesn't matter. They're both okay. But, you know, Renown might be just a tad better than Princess. Okay, then we have... Oh, and there was another Renown card. So then another card that they didn't really replace is Trusty Steed and the Corsair. Okay, so the pictures are different. The name is different. There's a little bit more text on the Trusty Steed. You choose 2 of these options. You can draw 2 cards, you can get 2 actions, you can get 2 money, or gain 4 silvers, and then put your deck into your discard pile. The choices must be different. With this one, it just says choose 2 different options, while this one just says choose 2, but it says at the bottom that the choices have to be different. So they changed the wording, obviously, and you're no longer putting your deck into your discard pile with this card here. So it's slightly better, probably, than the Trusty Steed here, if you're going to gain 4 silvers with these cards when you play them. But yeah, you get 2 cards, you get 2 actions, 2 money, or 4 silvers. You get 2 of those options. So, Corsair is just slightly better than Trusty Steed, but it's basically the same card. So that's 2 cards. So that's what they could have done. That's what they could have done with Followers. They could have just changed it slightly with the wording maybe and put it in here as well. But they didn't do that. But they did it with these 2 cards because, hey, they liked Trusty Steed and they liked Princess. So that's why they kept them. But they obviously didn't like Followers, and so they got rid of Followers and replaced it with something else. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm not sure which one replaces what at this point. Hold on. I forget exactly which prize replaced which reward when it comes down to it, but there's an extra prize, there's an extra reward here too. So let's just do this then. I think maybe it's this and this, maybe. I could be wrong, but we can't. So we have, first of all, we have 2 huge turnips here. So 2 rewards, 2 huge turnips, and then we have the original card Diadem, which is a prize. We also have Coronet as well. Which is another treasure card that's also a reward here as well. And it's an action treasure reward too. So, Diadem, okay, everyone hated Diadem. It was stupid. It's a stupid treasure. Okay, so you get 2 money with it, so it's like, no, it's barely better than silver at that point. But when you play this, you get +1 treasure per unused action you have. Action, not action card. So, if you're the village idiot, you're going to love Diadem. If you're the village idiot and you play like 10 villages, you're going to love Diadem. But most of us are not village idiots, and so therefore this card is not that great. I mean, it's not absolutely horrible, but no one liked it. So, definitely not sad to see that one bite the dust. What cards do we have here that are treasures, though, that are better? I forget which one replaced it, but they're all different anyway. So with Huge Turnip, you get 2 coffers. Okay, so it's a reward that gives you coffers. And now since Guilds and Cornucopia are a fused expansion, that they're one expansion, this is perfectly fine for a reward to be coffers, to have something that deals with coffers, right? So you get 2 coffers, and then you get +1 per coffers you have. So this is gonna produce 2 treasure, because it's going to give you 2 coffers to begin with. But if you have other coffers you didn't use from previous turns, or you had some other cards that gave you coffers this turn, this could produce a lot of treasure. That's a pretty cool card. So Huge Turnip is an awesome new card, which I really like. Coronet here. You may play a non-reward action from your hand twice. And then it says you may play a non-reward treasure from your hand twice. It just means you can't play the reward cards. But it says reward. It doesn't say prize. Does it now? I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have to see if it also means prize, because I would love to use coronet on the followers card. That'd be cool. And that's another reason why I'm holding on to both Tournament and Joust, is that idea I have that I want to try. So, with this one, if you play it during the action phase, then you're going to get to play an action card from your hand twice, so it's a throne room. But if you play it during your treasure phase, you get to play a treasure from your hand twice instead. So that's cool. It gives you a choice. Maybe there's a treasure you would rather play twice, or maybe there's an action card you'd rather play twice. So that's a cool card. So these two cards here are pretty cool. Yes, I like them. Like them a lot. And then we have one more. I don't know if this is the exact card that replaced said card, but I think it is, because they both have something to do with gold. So the original card, Bag of Gold, was an okay card. It gives you an action, and you gain a gold, and you get to put it on top of your deck. That's really good. I mean, there's a good chance that if Followers is gone and Trusty Steed is gone, that this would be the next one you go for. Although some people might go for this over Trusty Steed any day of the week, because it just potentially gives you a gold that you can almost use right away. That's pretty cool, and you're not wasting an action playing it. And you always gain prizes to your hand too, so that's also a nice little benefit. With the Dements though here, it's going to give you 2 actions, it's going to give you 2 buys, and you're going to gain a gold. So you're getting a gold just like with this one, and you're getting 2 actions, which is even better than this, and you're getting 2 buys, which is still better than this. Okay, so the gold you're gaining is not going to the top of your deck with this, which is why this is still nice. This Bag of Gold is still a nice card nonetheless. But what makes this card go over the top is it's worth 1 victory point per gold you have. So if you have 6 golds, this could be 6 points, 6 victory points, for instance. If you had more than that, more victory points. That's cool. Only 2 of these technically, if you're playing, 3 or more players. But in a 2-player game, it's only 1 anyway, right? But man, Dements, I love this card. This is the coolest reward card ever created. I love it. Dements. Okay, so that is everything that they replaced, and, all the new cards that they replaced and all the cards that they took out of the game. Okay, so before we end it here, I just wanted to mention these are the 2 only cards I wish they had replaced. I absolutely hate Merchant Guild. Remake is okay, but I absolutely hate Merchant Guild, and I wish they would have replaced it with something a little bit better, okay? So I'm sad that these are still in the expansion, but it is what it is, right? They did get rid of at least 3 cards I hated, so that's something. And then the rest of the cards here, I am happy to see that are still staying. I wouldn't have minded if they replaced this one, or this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. If they had replaced any of these, it would have been fine. I wouldn't have been mad. But I would have been sad to see these cards bite the dust if they had been, replaced. I am happy that they kept these cards, though. Very happy that they kept the majority of my favorite cards. There's only a couple that I really absolutely love that they replaced. So I am very happy with this expansion, and that's my review. So I hope you guys liked this video. I know it was long, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.